Kirk maneuver. Maybe it's the Akar maneuver.
Could be.
All right. Hey, everybody. Star Trek, the original series, season 2, episode 3, or episode 11, depending on what order you go by, is over. It was called Friday's Child, and it's been over since 1967. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews as we continue our mission to watch every original series episode not in order. And let's bring in our panel for this episode to discuss it. First, let's bring in my dad, Ted. How you doing tonight, Dad?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
You ready to talk about the Friday's Child?
Friday's Child.
Friday's Child. We come with open hearts and hands.
Yes.
Bringing in next, we got esteemed panelist Adam Woodward. How you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm good. I hated this episode. Hated.
Hated.
Ooh, that was harsh.
Wow. So is this like your Muri? Is this because I picked this and now I feel responsible?
Well, it was awful. And we have to watch them all, Dave, so it's okay.
Fool me once, shame on me. Or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on everybody.
An old Russian.
In Russia. It's an old Russian expression. Bringing in next, esteemed panelist Jody Simpson. How you doing tonight, Jody?
I'm doing all right, dude.
You ready to talk about Friday's Child on Wednesday?
Adam and I already had a sidebar on this.
Yes, we did.
We were talking yesterday as both of us were watching it.
Are you a sidebar or an Akar?
That's a tough
What's an
decision.
Akar?
Well, that was one of the characters, wasn't it? Akar was the, he was the tier of the 10 tribes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, the Pierre.
Right. A lot to break down here, but basically this episode has the Enterprise visiting a planet called Capella 4, the inhabitants being known as the Capellans. And McCoy explains to us in this briefing at the top of the episode that he lived on this planet for a while. He was stationed here for some months, and he got to know the people. They're tall, they're fast, they're strong, they like long hairs, they have interesting fashion design. And
they don't like their women being touched.
They don't like their women being touched, and they're also a little bit too honest.
And those slippers they wear. Woo.
And well, hold on. I'm just trying to upload a couple images of them. 2, 4, 5, 6.
Those boots are slippers.
Adam, I can see you're just bursting at the seams.
Well, let's get into it. But yeah, let's have a look at the Capellans in their native garb. They all have this long hair, and it comes out of the top of the or at least the men do. It comes out of the top of the outfit, and then they have these sashes and things going on, and
this may be one of the worst uniforms I've ever seen on Star Trek.
It's very interesting.
It's bad.
Look,
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like Chandelier in the 60s ridiculous. Like it's oh god.
Look at that one.
I don't know. I think it's pretty
colorful.
Dave, I have a car chamois in my car that would look better than this.
You know, compared to some of the other alien worlds we've seen, this at least felt like another planet.
True. I'll give you that.
Except they didn't go that far with the female costumes and put them in medieval, Maid Marian costumes.
No, she's just in like a wrap.
Yeah, nothing matched. It didn't match. They didn't go all the way. We put all our budget into the guy stupid uniforms. We didn't go make stupid uniforms for the girls.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Julie Newmar as Ellie.
Oh, and they wasted her. They wasted Julie Newmar. They had they had the best writer in Star Trek history.
Bloody Catwoman is in this episode, and you don't care.
No,
like how could you not? Like how can you watch the whole episode and go, "That's Julie Newmar," and I don't care? Like, come on, beautiful woman.
She's the only female Capellan we meet. No, there's the other one in the tent who offers Kirk the food, which almost gets him killed. But yes, her costume in comparison in her look is more mundane, I suppose. It's not as ornate as some of the male warriors. And it's also this whole thing too that that the Klingons are involved in this story. So we've
I didn't
seen
see any Klingons. Did you see Klingons?
Oh, I saw some Klingons.
I didn't see a single
There was
Klingon.
one guy that kind of looked like a half Klingon.
This
He
guy?
looked like Spock.
That's a Klingon?
Well, it's
okay.
original
We
series
can live
Klingon.
You could tell me that was a Ferengi and I would have bought it more than a Klingon. But anyway.
Yeah.
Those
I'm
Klingons?
not complaining about that.
What's that?
I'm not going to complain about that.
Oh, well, it's the least of the problems in this episode, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, he's consistent with the other Klingons we've met. He just happens to die, or he would have been back in Deep Space Nine in 1993. And yeah, so this guy's involved, and so they beam down to the planet because there's some mineral here. That's usually the story. The Enterprise is here. They're trying to negotiate mining rights. That's a lot of what they do.
They love their minerals too, don't they?
Like we need this planet has got this
like
mineral.
This one's got the mineral. That's the hot mineral right now.
The topaline.
Yes, the topaline.
Yes, topaline.
For life support systems.
That's right. Don't forget, we have to build ships and exploit other planets too, right? So
yeah, well, you can't get your ships there until you got the topo right.
Right.
You got to have that.
It kind of raises this question around the Prime Directive and whether they should be even talking to these Capellans or not. Or
Prime Directive be damned.
I guess, yeah.
So they show up on this planet, all right, and they're surprised that the Klingons there. Fine, right? And then they can't control, again, no discipline in their ranks. They can't control the red shirt who draws a weapon on them.
Obviously
Grant,
his first day or
Coral Grant.
It was like his first day or something.
Oh my god!
He was young and inexperienced.
He should be on the away team then, and then, but like if you're going there,
he's there to protect the captain. He's there for that.
It's his only purpose.
I don't know how he protected him, but he did apparently.
Nearly got him killed, actually.
Yeah.
And got himself killed. Yeah. Okay. So yes, Adam, to your point, like the officer sees this Klingon with his buddy. What was it? Mob. Mob is our kind of our this guy who kills the king and becomes like the new usurper.
The new tier.
The new tier, yes, or tier,
yes,
as they're called. But he's buddy with the Klingon. He prefers the Klingon anyway. But they see this guy at the opening meeting, and he reaches for his phaser, and so they give us this display of how deadly the Capellans can be with like their throwing star. It's like this rounded star thing, in addition to swords. But they don't seem to use any. That these are like the extent of their weaponry.
You don't have one of those on your wall behind you?
Not yet, but I'm thinking about getting one. The Capellan throwing thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing that can make a tree that's already broken break.
Correct. As McCoy was showing us in the outline. They said they can be as fast with it as a phaser. I'm like, okay, you're not as fast as a phaser, no matter how fast you throw this.
Maybe like some old slow ass favor that takes 20 minutes to turn on, maybe. But
yeah, it was so anyway. But because he reaches for the phaser, they kill him right away. And McCoy's like, well, this is kind of like what they would do. This is like, it's not like this is customary for their culture. And I guess like, so we'll get into maybe what the issues are, but I thought that
already though, so in the first 5 minutes, they're in the planet. They've pissed off the people they want to go negotiate with. They've run into Klingons.
They've also lost a red shirt.
Right. And they so they're already behind the 8 ball right off the bat. And they have nothing to negotiate with. What do you want to give us? This is the Mighty Federation. What are you showing up with? What are you going to give these guys?
What were the Klingons promising?
I don't know. I don't know.
This is something better than the Federation, I'm guessing.
Probably nothing.
He kind of says the Klingon says like powders and liquids. So basically medicine is kind of what the Federation has given them in the past.
Yes. Yeah, because he mentioned something along the lines of, the powders and all that.
Medical supplies.
It's assumed they got something. Let's be honest. That they're negotiating something. We don't know that.
Like that.
They didn't have time in their 50 minutes to let us know this.
But what I feel like in these, whenever they're with the Klingons, it's not about what the Federation can do for you. It's what they're going to do to you if you go with them. Clearly these guys are open-minded. They're going to hear both sides. But man, they just didn't get off on a right foot.
Well, and this uses the standard Star Trek article of, oh, Scotty's on the ship, so something's going to happen up there too.
Okay, Scotty.
It's going to be a communication issue.
Yeah.
But he was really good. Scotty was great. He was a commander. He was great.
Scotty and McCoy are the only thing good about this episode.
That's so true. It's so true.
Right. So the other storyline, while Kirk and Spock and McCoy and now the late Grant are kind of mulling about on the planet, this thing about the Klingons comes true because they get this glimpse that there's a kind of a ship at the end of this edge of the system that's kind of like they can't quite scan it, and that's the beginning of it. We can kind of get throughout pretty much the whole storyline is and then they get this distress call from a freighter, and they're gonna go out to investigate, and this pulls them away from the planet for a while, and then after they kind of give up on that and they realize that they called for the ship by name, they decide to turn back. So it all because that's the whole storyline for Scotty. It's Sulu, it's Uhura, and Chekhov.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the good news is he wasn't shooting Green Berets this time.
No,
so
he was.
That's a good thing, I guess.
Right, because as mentioned, this was the third in the production order for the season 2, but it didn't air till the 11th in the order. So it's so I guess if you were watching season 2, Sulu would kind of show up and leave kind of randomly because of this whole movie shoot he had during season 2. Yeah, and so I agree. I agree with Adam that I think Scotty is well written in this episode. I think he kind of does everything by the book, and he's the cavalry that comes at the end. So he kind of serves that purpose pretty well. Shows Scotty would make a good captain.
And McCoy's got his pimp hand, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about
got
McCoy.
His big pimp hand on.
Right.
The hell?
The hell was that? All right.
Adam's looking awfully suspicious.
It was my ringtone. I've got
your ringtone is Andy Griffin?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right. But once we come back to the planet, once we're on the planet, it's McCoy who kind of points out to these Capellans. Don't you guys know our sworn enemies are the Klingons? But Mob, as he's known, he's like the guy who takes over as the Tier. He's like, no, I think I like these Klingons. They're more our speed. Like they have things that can offer us, and we should totally get a bidding war going here, right? The Klingon, he points out that, hey, we're not at war, right? We're not this, it's a kind of like a Cold War situation with the Klingons. And is this what you do? He kind of throws shade at them for just the fact that that guy even tried to draw for his weapon when he got down to the planet. So Kirk's kind of at this disadvantage, and the whole landing party is at a disadvantage from the moment they get there. Right, they're always trying to play catch up with these Capellans, for better or worse. And then we get to meet a Carr, who is first we get to meet him. He's the husband of Julie Newmar's character. He's like the Tier. He's the old. He's supposed to be a really old guy. He doesn't look that old, but he kind of plays the part like that. And so they kind of have this little bit of an audience with him between the Klingons and the Federation. And, they're making different claims. But Mob likes the Klingons, and Akar is not quite sure. The only thing I could think throughout this was that, maybe the Klingons have a point. Maybe the Klingons are more suited to be allies with these Capellans, because these Capellans, from what I know of Klingons, they seem to be more aligned. They believe in battle and like ritual combat and strength, and above all else, they don't seem like.
Well, yeah, I think the society aligns more with the Klingons than it does with the Federation, for sure. Yeah,
right. Because he points this out to Mob. He goes, "Hey, Klingons, they conquer. They're conquering planets," and he's like, "Good. I like conquerors instead of you guys with all your wimpy little medicines and your powders and whatever.
And your shitty red shirts that show up and die in 3 minutes."
Right. you know, that they're kind of whatever here. So I'm kind of thinking like, well, maybe there's a point, but the a car, the Tier, he's not so sure. So they go to have this this little bit of a thing, and they're waiting for this to play out. I think this is where Kirk gets the offering from the female Capellan, who she says, "Hey, if you touch that piece of food."
Did anybody get Indiana Jones vibes when they were in the tents the whole time?
Maybe, yeah.
I'd like to be in a tent like that. Those are pretty great, you know.
Well, yeah, like I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying it was so weird because I'm like, why do I keep thinking of Indiana Jones? I guess it's because of the scene where they're trying to dig up the Ark. But
right, you're thinking like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's what I was thinking because
maybe because they're on the desert in tents.
Yeah, well, I guess.
You know.
Anyway, sorry.
No. It's
internal thought.
Well, yeah, like this, like I kept thinking, like, oh, his Klingon, his male relative has to come kill you or whatever it is. I'm like, this is more. Maybe the Klingons are better allies, but even though they'll definitely exploit you once the Federation's gone. I don't even know why this is a negotiation, but let's get back to it. So we come back from a commercial, and then there's like this fight that's breaking out inside of the camp. Right, I guess.
Yeah, after the girl offers the fruit, and then the guys come in, and then it's just like it just starts a scuffle, and they're like, "Okay, blah blah blah." It's like what?
So we don't actually see a car die. We're just told he dies, and then we're told that this makes Mob the new Tier.
And that's kind of the problem with this episode is it almost feels like half the episode is somewhere else. Like it's like we're only getting tidbits of the episode, and it's like, and the stuff we got isn't good. Like it's like, is there an alternative hour and a half cut of this episode? Like,
I found this very hard to follow, and
just to comprehend it even is like I got about halfway through and I had to rewind because I'm like, what did I miss? Like, did
I considered that, Jody, but I didn't want to waste my time.
So where did it lose you guys? Where did it lose you exactly?
When they beamed down to the planet.
I would say around literally the commercial break, I think is where I was like, I seriously for a second thought I missed something. I thought like, oh, maybe I blacked out
what
for
was
a minute
making
or something.
you think that? What was drawing you to
just all of a sudden there's a fight and you're like, what's going on?
Right. Okay.
So
it feels like there's a scene missing or there's some kind of an event missing. But
maybe we'll find out in fun facts.
Maybe, yeah. It seems like because a car was kind of leaning towards the Federation after this little audience, and Mob was definitely in the camp of the Klingons. He was like, no, I'm gonna just seize power, and that's what happens here. And then he did. But then what? Now that the car is dead, that Julie Newmar's character of L.E.N. She says, well, that's the law is I have to die, even though I'm pregnant and the baby's about a minute away from being born. That's the law. And so they're going to kill her. But Kirk says,
and he touches her.
I'm sworn not to interfere with the internal affairs of a culture, but I can't see a woman killed. So,
but I'll beam down and hang out with your women.
Yeah. So that's Kirk. That's James T. Kirk for you.
That's the Kirky boy we know.
Right, so he intervenes, and by doing so, he doesn't make more friends among these Capellans in this act. No. So, what was the point? They were all going to be executed, but it was not right away. They put them in the tent with some guards, and then because she won't let McCoy touch her arm, he's like, I got to help her with this arm, and then Kirk are like, oh, that's a great plan. We're going to escape.
Now we're going to interfere.
When you go to like do the medical examination, we're going to totally get these guys. And that's what they do. And then they kind of sneak out the back. And the Klingon guy is like, hey, Mob, we got to like kill them. What are we waiting for? He's like, listen, Klingon, we run the show here. Don't worry. They will never escape from my tents.
We got those weapons that knock down trees that are almost already knocked down. It'll be fine.
Our throwing stars and our little machetes. We can do whatever we need to. Yes, and so this starts.
Look at Adam. I've never seen have like so much disappointment on his face during one of these.
Right.
Like every time you say something else,
what, guys?
Adam just goes further down the rabbit hole. It's amazing. He's like, oh.
We talked about this episode, and we talked about it on Sunday again. And it's got a great writer, and it had Julie Newmar.
Fontana and Julie Newmar. Like, this sounds like a win-win.
Getting into this, thinking that it's going to be good. I looked at the pictures and I thought, oh boy. And I still went in with an open mind, and I'm still freaking. Like, I actually said to my wife, I have never said this. I said I just wasted an hour of my time on Star Trek. Like,
that's saying a lot.
Wasting more time
you watched all of Miri.
Right here, man.
Yeah, he's got it right there. It's always Dad, where do you stand on this episode? You've been pretty quiet.
I take it for what it is. It wasn't like as bad as I'm hearing, I don't think, but there was some good parts of it. I think you can kind of diss it, but I don't know.
What was your favorite part? Or
Oochie coochie coochie coo.
Oochie coochie coo, a special Earth dialect. You should look it up.
Yes, right. Yes.
Oochie coochie coo.
I don't know what's funnier, Ted saying "Oochie coochie coochie coo" or Adam's face when he did that.
It was Oochie Woochie Coochie Coo.
Honestly, Adam, you're normally a very happy, positive guy, and I'm just amazed at your response right now.
It was bloody ridiculous. That line at the end.
Oh, the Spock line?
I can't even tell you how disappointed I am in this.
Oh, well, we haven't got there yet.
This might be your assignment Earth.
Oh my God. Yes. And now I know how you guys feel. I'm just disgusted.
I'd watch this over Assignment Earth any day.
I'll tell you right now, though, we haven't done Spock's brain.
No, I've seen that before,
is a terrible episode.
Right. It's not great. But Dad, what was like? What was sort of like maybe the low point for you, if there was one?
The low point was when Mob, is that his name? M-A-A-B, Mob.
Mob.
He decided to just get killed by the Klingon with the phaser, like for no reason, like without.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
Like, what's he doing? What's he thinking?
I guess there was something with his honor that demanded it or something, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Hey, if you wore frills on your outfit, you would probably think about jumping in front of a phaser yourself.
Maybe he felt bad that he took over as the tier and did it kind of like they raised it like almost like a military coup.
I think he realized he was wrong about the Klingon.
I wonder if Q's outfit in Encounter and Farpoint was inspired by these people.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it looks like something Q would wear.
No, that was an Earth outfit. It was definitely like Inquisition kind of outfit. This is never anything Earth.
Yeah, true. Anyway.
That was a coup that you saw though in this show. That was a coup.
It was a coup. Yeah, I guess the only thing with Mob's death where the Klingon just vaporizes them.
But there was one scene in this which didn't really, unless I missed something. They when they were about to kill her and Kirk and them jumped in and saved her, they kind of all of a sudden they were out of there, like they almost got out of there too quickly. And like,
you mean the first time they tried to kill her, like in the tents? Well, yeah. Like so, Kirk got involved, and then there was this whole kerfuffle where she was like,
they had the thing right to kill her, and then. They pushed off, and then all of a sudden they were in the hills before you knew it.
Well, yeah, you seem to like you missed a scene or something because what happens is she says, "Well, I was prepared to die, and so now my right is I get to see Kirk die for saving my life," which is not a lot of gratitude. But after they kind of escape from the guards in the tent, they say, "You can either die here, or you can come with us." And she says, "Well, I'd rather live," and that's kind of what happens. And then they're fleeing into the hills after that.
Yeah.
And it's this is one of the few times I can remember where they're actually like on location, like they're back in Vasquez Rocks for most of this, where they're kind of they're running through the hills versus like when they do like the planets that are like the stages. I always like being out in like a real world environment like this. I just think it gives a little bit more. It makes it real.
I just don't know why Scotty didn't report that other ship in distress. After they got back and said we got to, instead of just ambling off in warp factor 2 to nowhere, they should have went out and checked out that possibility that ship could have been in distress, but they didn't.
The second ship that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he said it's a possibility. I'm taking a risk here, but for better or worse, I'm going
Yeah,
to.
well, it might have been true, but they don't know. But they should have mentioned it.
Yeah, that's a loose end they needed to tie up. But
Yeah.
I think it's to be implied that it was the Klingons on the second distress signal as well.
Yeah, maybe it was.
and It seems like it. But this whole chase through the mountains, and like the whole relationship with McCoy and Eliane, as played by Julie Newmare, she's like, nobody may touch me, and then she slaps him a couple times. He slaps her back. This seems to earn her respect.
Oh yeah, that pimp hand slap was just insane from McCoy.
Jane was not
I
too
like
impressed.
that line too. I'm a doctor, not an escalator.
Not an escalator, because she would only let McCoy. She builds this bond with McCoy.
You gotta like that one, Adam.
Pardon?
You gotta like that one. I'm a doctor, not an escalator.
No, that was good. I didn't mind McCoy in this episode.
McCoy and Scotty are awesome in this episode.
Right. Well, there's this idea. He's like, hey, I have to help treat you, right? And he was not taking any guff, but Jane pointed out to me, like, doesn't the patient have a right to refuse? And
not with McCoy and his pimp hand.
Yeah, right. Well, McCoy.
Once that pimp hand comes out, you're getting your medical aid.
There's also to be something said here that McCoy understands something about this Capellan culture. Maybe that I don't know.
Yeah, and they did set that up okay too. I mean, the opening scene was in the briefing room and the conference room, and McCoy was giving the brief.
Yeah, he knows these people the best.
Maybe he knows that you have to slap them to give them medical care.
That's when they showed them the weapon that can break the broken tree.
Right. It can just make the broken tree even more broken.
That's right.
That's right.
It took down that broken tree like there's nobody's business.
Right. And then there's this whole thing about like the fact that she wants the baby to die and all this kind of stuff, and that McCoy has to use the psychiatry on her.
Well, and she even comes out after and says, like, the baby and they're all dead, kind of thing.
A lie.
And then the Klingon's like, you're lying, basically.
She's in conflict throughout this because she's struggling with her culture.
We're all in conflict during this. Do I turn it off? Do I keep watching?
Right. Well, what did you think of Kirk and Spock's plan here to use like the communicators to create the sonic resonance to make the rocks?
I figured that was a kind of a novel idea, but I'm surprised that they still worked after that.
Well, they had 3 communicators, right? They had the one for the 3 of them because they said before we escaped the encampment, we got our communicators back, but not our phasers because we don't.
Because convenience.
Because plot demands it.
Yeah.
So they still had 1 communicator left. The other 2 were left there, I guess, or whatever.
Okay.
And then.
You know what I found even after the cliff came down was how buddy the Klingon was with these guys. He's in there like checking it out, and they're all looking together. Like, how did that happen?
With the Capellans?
Yeah.
Well, did you see too? Like I think this mob, he trusted this Klingon guy for undeservedly so.
Yeah, you get the impression that they've been like hanging out for a while or something.
Yeah, they were there before for sure. They didn't just
but he won't give. He's like, give me back my phaser. I don't want to just have like this knife. And he's like, hey, that was our deal. You get your weapons back when we have our deal or whatever. But when the rocks fall, we see here that the Klingon steals the phaser from one of the guys. He actually stabs the guy, and nobody sees him, I guess, among the Capellans.
Yep.
So that's the betrayal, right? Because otherwise, it would be hard to paint the Klingon in like specifically a villainous light if he didn't do this kind of villainous thing here and like later on.
Well, he is a Klingon, so he's going to be villainous.
Well, I thought but in all the other 3 appearances of the Klingons in the original series, the Klingons are depicted, maybe as being the bad guys or adversaries, but usually they're kind of honorable or there's some kind of respect. Like you think of Kor or Koloth or Kang. This guy, he's just more of a weasel Klingon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a Frankie version of a Klingon.
Yeah, he's making the deals. He's like, I'm here to make a deal for the rocks, the Topaline. Other question: What does it mean to be ham-handed?
I think that would be like not have good coordination with your fingers,
Okay.
like butterfingers, or in basketball, we had a guy on our team that every time you pass on the ball, it would go out of bounds. He'd drop right through his hands. So we used to call him Stubbs.
The internet says clumsy or bungling, ham-fisted.
Yeah.
McCoy says it to Kirk. He's like, I won't have any ham-handed captain touching this baby or whatever it is.
Oh, you don't want to drop the baby.
Right, because the baby was born. By the way, we forgot to mention the baby who will become to be known as Leonard James Carr, named after McCoy and Kirk, not Spock. He was left out of the name.
Fuck Spock.
Yeah, because and then
What
Spock
did he do?
he was trying to show Spock how to hold the baby, and he's like, "Doctor, I'm
So
not."
when that baby was born, there was no attempt to feed it or to do anything with it. It was just left there in the corner.
That's how Capellan babies roll. They don't need anything.
That's survival of the fittest, I guess.
Hey, did you guys find every time that Spock spoke, you go, huh? Oh, he's here.
Oh yeah, like he's totally invisible in this episode for the most part.
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, I think so.
I
thought
did.
he was-
Yeah,
As
he's
much
just
as
a little
anything
less
else.
of a role. A little less of his normal role.
McCoy had more to do, so Spock I think has less to do.
Yeah, this is a more McCoy, Scotty centric episode.
And Kirk
Yeah.
always
Kirk
gets,
to a degree, yeah. Kirk always gets his screen time, so
right,
I think
so-
they filmed this episode. They weren't overly happy with it, so they put it on the shelf. And finally, when they didn't have the other episode done in time, they said, "Well, we got to use episode 3."
Maybe
Like,
it'd be interesting. Like once we get into the fun facts, I'd like to know if we can what the cast thought of this episode.
'cause this was the DJ Fontana one, and
I can
DC
tell you, man, they were checking their watches. I can't wait for this episode to be done. Like, this is awful.
Maybe they were just happy they were on location. They were up in the sun.
the
They were.
the best part of watching this episode was talking to Adam during it.
that was the same location where Kirk fought the Gorn.
Oh yes, Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell it's the same place.
Right.
A
And
lot
then,
of things have been shot there actually.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's where Raffi lives.
There's also an episode of Enterprise that had that there as well.
Right. And then once we mentioned that the Enterprise is like they figure out that it was a fake out, they're on their way back. They hear that call from the Carolina. They choose to ignore it. So we already hit on that. But then the last we see of the Enterprise before the kind of the finale, the last act of the episode is that they're about to go head to head with this Klingon battle cruiser. We find out, Scotty will tell us later on, they weren't looking to have a fight. So I guess they got out of the way.
I think we're missing something there too.
Maybe. Yeah.
Can we just talk about the bow and arrows for a second?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Go on, I
Right.
knew that was coming up.
So yeah, Kirk and Spock figure out they have to make weapons. This is after they do their initial.
They worked remarkably well.
They worked.
They
well.
did work so well for the pieces of crap they were. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
They were able to make vines and branches and make bows and arrows. That he got that Klingon right in the leg.
But they weren't even
Well, he killed 2 of those guys.
So, as somebody who is actually into archery, there's no way in hell these would work. Like, there's no way. Like, you can't. It's not like the vines were some sort of bungee cord or something. Like, there's no tension on them at all. Like, even if you could shoot it, it would maybe a foot. Like,
God, it was so bad.
It's a little bit like Kirk making a cannon with diamonds and sulfur and salt and whatever else he found on
that
the
was
planet.
more believable.
Yeah, that was more believable because they tried it on Mythbusters.
I think.
Yes.
Did
Yes,
they
they
ever
did,
try?
yeah.
They didn't try this bow and arrow on MythBusters.
Did
They
it
don't
work?
need to. That one was so far out, they didn't need to.
Yes,
No?
Dad. They tried to make the cannon on MythBusters. Basically, the main problem was you can't just like randomly mix together, sulfur and calcium bicarbonate and black powder or whatever it is, coal, I guess, to make black. Gunpowder is more of a you need more specific measurements.
It's a refined thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not.
It's
You
not
can't
just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, bang.
throw it
you
in
know,
a
it's
shake
just-
and bake and whoo, here
Yeah.
you go. No, it doesn't work. So, but I would recommend watching that episode of MythBusters where they
It is a
broke
good
all down.
episode. Yeah.
Plus, the bamboo itself wouldn't have worked either, even if you
No,
throw.
the bamboo would have just exploded.
But they said it's an alien wood, so it could. Anyway, we digress. And maybe that was the case here.
You
The
know what?
aliens.
The difference between that episode and this episode was a story that you could follow and an adversary, and it was so good.
A car, man, and no mob. I'm sorry, mob and this Klingon. I can't remember his name. What was his name? Cross. Don't forget about Cross.
I may actually rather watch Miri again than this episode.
All right, let's get to the ending. So the ending of the
there
episode,
was an ending.
There was an ending.
Coochie coochie coo.
Oochie coochie coo. Hey,
Oh,
we need Ted for that one though. Ted has to do that line.
So there's about to be this final confrontation with the Capellans and Kirk and Spock. So basically, all they've done by caving in that entrance is kind of buy themselves some time. So Aline, as played by Julie Newmar, she decides to hit McCoy in the head with a rock. She could have killed him, I think, but luckily it just knocked him out. She was very good with the.
McCoy is pretty much a hard ass though, so it's going to take a couple shots before.
But she left the baby. She didn't bring the baby with her, and she comes out and she goes,
she's not a very good parent.
Mob. The baby's dead, and I killed the Earthman. But this is right after his scout just told him that, hey, Kirk and Spock are behind those rocks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, your guy just told you that they're alive, and then she just came out and told you that they're dead.
Well, maybe in their culture, women cannot tell a lie or something like that.
There's something about this that doesn't add up. Like, I know that's a moot point, Adam, because for you the whole thing didn't add up. But,
yeah.
But I guess they were just running out of time. But
they had 50 minutes.
Story-wise, this whole everything that Mob does here in this last scene doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He says that these Earthmen, they make good game. They've been so clever. I'm enjoying this little hunt we're on. But then he doesn't seem to enjoy it a few minutes later. The Klingon turns on them at some point, right after he gets a thing in the leg, and then Aline proposes to flee as a sacrifice and a distraction. Mob elects to return her life to her, and then he forfeits his own, which doesn't make sense, as we said. He advances upon the Klingon and goes, "Hey, Cross or Klingon!" And he just gets vaporized along with his. A few minutes earlier, another one of his dudes had been vaporized. This was the effect we saw.
That's a pretty sweet effect.
Yeah, this was the remastered version. Didn't quite look as good, but you see that the Capellans are quite impressed by the display of the weapon, because they've never seen anything like that before.
Well, that will knock the shit out of a tree, that's for sure.
Right. Who do you think? And then right when that happens, after he's died, Keel, who's the lieutenant of Mob, he I guess becomes he's now in charge of this group. And he's getting ready, and Keel's the one. So when he got vaporized, he kills Keel kills the Klingon with the Kligot, that little ninja star thing. And
you know who became in charge, Dave? Though is the girl, the wife became
right. She becomes the regent. She becomes the new regent because now her son.
The baby's the new tier, but he's too small.
Yeah, he's too son. So yeah, this is the same as we do on Earth when there's a young king or queen.
Yeah.
Like there's usually some kind of guardian or custodian who's in charge while they're growing up. But yeah, the new tier is Leonard James Akar. She signed the new mining agreement with the two, and I guess they made friends with the Federation after this. And Spock's, they had their little bit of banter at the end. Like, I think you two are so pleased with yourself, as we end every original series episode with some kind of joke between Kirk, McCoy, and Spock on the bridge. That's usually what even if it's Kirk's brother who just died, we gotta get our yucks in here at the end. So
I'd rather watch Kirk's die
Take
again.
us out of orbit, Mr. Zulu.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. On to the next mission. And that's the end of the thing. So okay, all right. That's the plot. We got some controversy of whether this is good. I don't know, and so I may be biased. I am going to admit it. I've watched this episode a lot. This is one of the original series episodes I watched as a kid a lot for whatever reason, and I've always liked it.
What is Friday's Child like in the poem? What is Friday's Child full of?
Well, what does that even mean?
I don't know,
Actually,
but I'm a Friday's child. I can tell you
I don't
that.
even understand what the title is a reference to.
Oh,
It's a reference to it's a poem.
Monday's
Okay, well-
child is something. Tuesday's child is. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
Friday. Yeah.
Can you give us some fun facts?
I can. I was going to look up the other part, but
Here, I'll take care of the poem.
I think it's called Summer Song or something like that. No, that's not it. Anyway, okay, I'll do fun facts while you look that up. How's that? All right. So this is the only episode in which Uhura and Sulu call Scotty by his nickname. Otherwise, they call him Mr. Scott. So there you go. That's something good that came out of this episode.
Yeah, this Scotty is. A lot of people are surprised that his name isn't even Scotty. A lot of people just think the character's name is just Scotty.
It's sorry guys.
Yep.
Friday's child is oh my god, I lost it now. Friday's child is loving and giving.
Oh, and I was born on a Friday. That's weird. Anyway, all right.
Friday.
Was I?
You were born
Hey,
on
we're all
Friday.
born on Friday? Yeah, were you born on a Friday?
No, I think I was a Sunday.
Oh, let's see what that is.
Well, you better find that out. As you're looking that up, temperatures reached 110 degrees at the Vasquez Rocks, where the location shoot were held, making it very uncomfortable for the actors in compelling costumes.
I bet.
Yeah, that would be brutal. This is the third time in the series Bones used the saying, "I'm a doctor, not a," insert something in, which in this case would be escalator, as Ted said earlier.
Yeah.
Well, he got quite a few of those in afterwards.
Lots of dialogue looping was used in the episode because of the outdoor setting. Some of the dubbing was crammed together nearly on top of other lines. So that's why some of the lines were like kind of almost stacked because they had to redub everything. The name of Tig Andrews' character Krass is never actually spoken. He is only called Klingon. So yeah, he doesn't technically have a name, right?
Cross.
Klingon.
He's a mean looking dude.
Chin
All
strap.
right. Oh, so when I got a little bit further,
Klingon's name start with a K.
Most do.
a lot of them do. Like Kronos is the name of the planet.
Kang.
And all that. Well, you know what's really funny here, Adam? Later on in my fun facts, it says the title is based on the children's nursery rhyme that includes "Friday child is loving and giving." So there you go.
There you go.
If we just waited, we would already knew. Anyway, exterior planet scenes were filmed at the familiar Vasquez Rocks, located in North Los Angeles. So there you go. If you ever go to Los Angeles, you can go pretend to be a Gorn if you want,
or a Capellan.
Or a Capellan, yes. I would think if you're going to pretend one or the other, it'd probably be the Gorn. But anyway, that's fine. A sequence in the blooper reel shows William Shatner entering the tent too quickly when Tig Andrews is looking for his weapon and exclaiming, "Oh shit!" So there was a deleted scene with him, which we never got to see, which I'm guessing would have been way more entertaining than most of this episode. Sorry. Phaser 1 has enough power to explode rocks, as seen by the Klingons hits the one Spock is sheltered behind. So there you go. Level 1 can blow up rocks. That's now canon, just so you know.
Was that a Klingon weapon or a starship weapon?
It does not say, but I'm almost positive that was a handheld weapon in the episode, wasn't it?
He showed the Klingon gun, and it's a lot bigger, so I have to figure he had an Enterprise weapon.
No, so yeah, the gun that Mob shows to Cross is actually it's a Klingon disruptor.
Right. But that's not what the Klingon got from the other guy. He got, I think, a start.
Yeah, no, he got a Type 1 Starfleet phaser that had been taken off of McCoy or somebody else.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Bones is in a Klingon episode. He was absent for Star Trek: The Original Series, Errand of Mercy. So this is the first time Klingons and Bones have been in the same episode.
Right.
Outsiding. Chekhov's smile after claiming, quote, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me," was invented in Russia was a wink to the audience that he had already been self-aware of these kind of statements. So he was actually winking at the audience in that scenario. Which
He was doing this
obviously-
to troll them on purpose, you're saying?
to troll them on purpose. Yes,
But I
exactly.
thought that was the first time he did that.
It doesn't say that in my notes, but I wouldn't disagree with you on that. But I think he's
I think
done
it was
previous.
the first time that he used the Russian. Oh, this was invented in Russia or whatever, right?
Well, it depends if we go by production order or airing order. It comes because this is the third episode production-wise, so this would be only the third one they filmed with him.
Speaking of production, in production order, this is the only the second episode to feature the Klingons. Interestingly, the Klingon makeup design is different from their first appearance in Air and Mercy. See, I told you it looked different.
They hadn't really decided.
In the former, their complexions were dark and swarthy with stereotypical Asian facial hair. Cross, the Klingon in this episode, is bearded but without the dark makeup and the Ming the Merciless facial hair.
But when they brought back when they bring in Michael and Sarah in season 3 for Day of the Dove, he's kind of more closer to Core in that darker kind of bronzy looking makeup.
Yes.
And this guy Cross, he's a little bit more like Koloth, like kind of a lighter skinned looking Klingon. But isn't that just indicative that there could be different ethnicities among the Klingons?
There could be, yeah. Well, and Discovery jumped on that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. More so, yeah.
Even to a more extreme. That's all I really have because everything else that I read through was just very boring.
Gotcha. All right, let's jump into the ratings and figure out how much we loved or hated this episode.
How low Adam can actually go.
How low can he? Oh, he's
A point,
All right.
A point for Scott, a point for McCoy. That's it.
okay. Dad, you want to take us off? Start us off.
6.2.
6.2.
Always the positive.
I'm going 8. Okay.
You're gonna go 8?
Yeah.
You're gonna go 8?
Yeah.
All right. All right, Adam.
2. I'm not kidding.
No, he really wasn't kidding. Okay. I'm not gonna go that bad. There was some fun moments, but for the most part, not really. I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 4.
4. Okay, so that averages out for us at 5.1. This has a 6.9 on IMDb, so a little bit below average. Gives
Which
us
just
about
goes to show you, IMDb is full of shit.
Yes. This had a good team behind it. This had Joseph Pevney as director, DC Fontana.
I can't believe DC Fontana wrote this. Like for someone who she's done so many good episodes. It's
Jody,
weird to think that.
a bad day at the office.
Well, this is true. This is true, Ted.
Everyone has a bad day.
Chalking that up too. A bad day for everybody.
All right. Well, okay. So since you guys all loved this episode so much, I think I have to defer picking the next one to someone else.
No,
So
we gotta see them all. So it's not. It doesn't matter.
I know. I'm just joking. All right. So
I think you should do Spock's brain now.
No,
we have
gotta get a good one.
we need a good one. We need a
All
good one
right.
to bring us back up. We have a lot in season 3, but the problem is there's not a lot of good ones there. The only good one in
Enterprise Incident is pretty good.
the Enterprise Incident's a pretty good one.
All right, let's take that.
Okay, let's do that.
Of course, it has to be that you have to pick a good episode when I'm not going to be here next week. So
Are you not here next week?
no, every 3 weeks I'm not here because of my work schedule. But anyway, that's fine.
Well, do you want us to do something else?
No.
We can do something else and come back. There's no problem.
We
It's
can do
fine.
Spock's brain just so we can get the ratings up on it.
It's fine. Just do that one. I've seen it 100 times, so you're not surprising me on that.
Give us a
episode.
rating for it, though.
For that one. I'm going to give that 8.5.
All right.
Good episode.
That's what we're coming in with. Okay.
All right.
So,
Wow, that's about your highest you've ever given.
It's a good episode. No, that's not the highest I've ever given. What's the highest one I've given, Gabe?
you give an 8.5 to the Galileo 7.
Good
You
episode.
gave 9.2. You gave to the Ultimate Computer.
That's a great episode. I love that episode.
You gave a 9
Space
to
Seed, also a
Space
good
Seed,
episode.
a 9 to the Devil in the Dark.
Devil in Dark
Gave
was a
a
great
9 to
episode.
Mary.
9 to Mary.
No, definitely didn't give 9 to Miri.
You gave 9.5 to Balance of Terror.
That's a great episode. I love that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? You guys think I'm all like harsh here. I'm not. I give out the good ones once in a while when they deserve them.
You're hit or miss with this stuff. So it's
It's all personal preference, Dave.
All biased. Yeah, we all have our own.
I still am the hardest on them, apparently, based on the averages. But
you're still the lowest average. You have a 6.5, but Jeff's not that much higher than you. I'm the Dad's the highest. Dad's got an average of 7.7, and
who could have saw that coming?
Yeah, I have an average of 7.3.
I look at it through the eyes of babes.
He's not wearing his rose-colored glasses today.
No. It's not the rose color. He's also like he relates with the 60s. That's how it was back then.
It's just how it was.
Adam,
Adam,
back then we made terrible episodes of Star Trek, and we enjoyed.
You got 700 other episodes to look at of Star Trek.
We had nothing to compare to.
We had nothing.
You got nothing.
I'd rather watch
black and white TV.
A first season. Next gen episode than this episode. Any of them
is Ted,
except for maybe Code of
Honor.
Honor.
Black and white TV.
We're all gonna get something different out of these episodes. Some of them are better.
That's the whole point of doing this, is to see different views.
Exactly.
One of the scariest episodes, though, I ever watched was with Catwoman when she fell into a bottomless pit in Batman, and I
remember that. Yeah,
that scared the hell out of me.
Was that the Julie Newmar?
I don't think so.
No, it was the other Catwoman. What was her name? Kit?
This thing falling into a bottomless pit.
Eartha Kitt? Was it Eartha Kitt?
Was Eartha Kitt one of the Catwoman?
Yeah, she was Catwoman.
But Dad, it was another Batman star here, along with Frankie Gorshin, who had been on this.
Frankie Gorshin, the Riddler.
Right.
Yes.
And do you know that Adam West was almost Spock?
Is that right?
I heard something about that, but I don't know the story.
He was nearly cast as Spock, but they ended up going with Leonard Nimoy. But it was apparently close. Also, Walter Matthau was up for Spock, and he nearly got
imagine Adam West in Star Trek, though. Oh, I don't know.
Well, in this alternate timeline when Leonard Nimoy maybe became Batman, I'd like to know what that.
That would have been weird.
That would have been weird.
Do you know, I was watching an episode of Get Smart this evening.
I love Get Smart.
I came up here.
That was such a fun show.
Remember the guy in when Scotty got charged with murder, all those girls? Remember the little weasel?
The wolf in the fold, yeah.
The little weasel? Well, he was in Star Trek. His name was Felix, and he worked in the lab, and he invented this thing called Dorian Gray, which was this little bottle of gray paint, and he would take a picture of you in today's, your current picture, and he would paint this gray on where your hair is and stuff, and then you would immediately start aging and get really old and die.
Diabolical.
That was his weapon.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. Well, hey, a lot of crossover clearly in these shows. Yeah. Anyway, so just to we're gonna wrap up this episode.
Should have just called this one the 60s with Ted.
The 60s. Yeah. Well, it was kind of it was the 60s Ted Treks. So we'll be back next week to talk about the Enterprise incident. Also here in Live Long and Podcast Tuesdays, we talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We just talked about the two-parter Past Tense last night. So check that out. We're continuing our trek to watch every Deep Space Nine episode in order.
At least you're in the good ones now.
We're into the good ones now. Most of them are good. Last night was very good. Also, we do Star Trek Radio Theater on the weekends. I'm taking a break off this weekend. I got to catch up on my edits. On Saturday night, we did Steve Shives was guesting on our podcast. We did Star Trek, the original series. Star Trek, the Next Generation.
Still haven't listened to it yet.
Samaritan Snare. Well, wait till I get the edited version out,
right.
which I'm waiting to do. So I'm gonna let you guys know because I take out all the pauses and the silences and things like that. So check out our radio theater catalogs and everything else. Hey, Mom.
Hey, it's Beth.
Yeah, she peeked her head in, and our other channels.
Trivial show her face and losing to Jody in that.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Trivial Debates we did on Sunday. We do that on the last Sunday of every month. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. Adam and Jody and Mom were just on with Eamon hosting. Check that out if you haven't already.
Don't give it away.
Don't give out the spoilers, Dad. And then on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about other shows that aren't Star Trek, including right now Big Brother Canada 9, which Jaemeel and I are covering 3 times a week, which including tonight will be on. So we've got 2 weeks left. Plus, we're going to be doing Falcon and the Winter Soldier for Marvel Cinematic Universe recaps. Jeff Mott and I, we just did The Serpent from Netflix on Friday.
Still got to watch that.
Yeah. So, hey, there's lots of content on all of our different podcasts. So check all that out.
Did you do the whole show?
We just did one podcast to cover the
well,
whole
it's like
episodes.
eight episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't
episodes.
We didn't break it out. We just did one podcast. That's the same thing we're going to do for some of these other shows. So
hey, when this all started, we did Tiger King, didn't we?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And the
like that was a while ago now.
You guys did Tiger King?
We did Tiger King.
We did a Tiger King review. Yeah.
When that hit.
Okay.
So yeah. So this Serpent podcast went into the same series as the Tiger King one. So we now have 2 in that series. Anyway, so thank you, Dad, Adam, and Jody, for your time tonight on this podcast. I appreciate it and bringing all the thoughts together. We will see you next week. And until
sorry,
then,
Adam.
Okie dokie.
Sorry, Adam. All right. Until then, live
It's
long.
okay. You know, we have our episodes. You know, what are you gonna do?
Adam's like, I'll never watch it again.
Never again.
The
Never.
good news is, Adam, is you don't have to watch it again.
Yeah, I agree.
One and done. One and done.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone, have a great one and take care. Live long and podcast.